we see growing in, especially on like kids like us, or like young adults, it grows tremendously because we going through different phases. We changing. We pretty much moving on from that teenage stage where you were carefree, or you just in the wild west, to the adulthood.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to the fucking world to be part of society and contribute back to society. And it's a lot of load if you feel like everything feels like a competition and you just stress the fuck out because you're not doing or moving that same pace as your peers. And I feel like that's something that is stress us the most, is this transition that
Exactly.
we're going through. So learn how to cope with them, learn how to live with them, and what works best for you. That would be that would be my advice for myself. So
Yeah.
this is a conversation between friends.
None of what is said here should be taken as legal advice.
We are not experts in any way.
Take what resonates and leave the rest.
Good morning, everybody. It's the end of the week. It's Friday. Welcome back to Shots of Info. That topics for today. On foundations, we have dealing with stress, and on finance, we have what happens after being delisted, with everything that's happening around GameStop, AMD, and BlackBerry, as well, I think, as Nokia. It's actually something that we can talk about today. And also some news updates on the market and overall economy. All right, so let's move on and let's just get started. Dealing with stress. So do you have any good tricks or routine when you are stressed, Randy?
Yeah, usually my go-to is just eating food. I love eating food when I'm stressed out.
You're a stress eater.
Yep.
Oof.
But we've talked about it in the past, how that's not really a good thing. And there's other methods to kind of help balance that out. But yeah, that's usually my go-to. If I'm not diligent about, maybe exercising to get my stress out, or going out for a walk, or going out for a run or something like that, meditating, things like that. What about you? What's your go-to?
Right. When it comes to, it depends actually. It depends on the day or in the mood that I'm on. Now, if I feel like also there's different type of stress that we can talk about and mention. So stress because of like personal problems, stress because of work or school, or stress just because it's a stressful time. There's different. I think there's different type of stress. So I usually have different cope mechanism to deal with each of those. But I would say meditating or yoga has really helped me to just overall balance that out, like on a personal level. I like to cook, as I mentioned before. Usually when I'm stressed or I need to clarify some thoughts, I actually go and cook, like literally. And there's some satisfaction when it comes to like chopping things up. You'd be like, no, but actually, I don't know. It's just one thing that I usually try to do, just to clear my head. And another thing, reading, it can help, and the gym. I feel like the gym is one of those places where you really, really throw the stress out of the way, because you're lifting weights, you're running or whatever. You're really like engaging your body and your mind at the same time, and it really helps to deal with the stress. You just feel, you know, uh, you feel relieved. And once you get home, take that really nice cold shower, go to bed, and well, if you go to the gyms in the afternoon, if you go in the morning, of course, start your day. But yeah, I feel like those are some things that I do to deal with any type of stress actually.
Yeah. So like when it goes back to the exercising,
Mm-hmm.
oftentimes what ends up happening, like whatever's stressing you out, uh, you said like 90 or 80% of the time, it's usually something that can be resolved relatively easily. It's usually a small thing. It's not something that you have to kill yourself over. And within like a 24-hour period, you're pretty much good to go. You're kind of just over it, and that's it. And within that period of time where you are stressing out, exercising kind of just helps get that out of your mind. That way you're only focusing on one thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's a really good way to help just deal with stress. Because the thing that's stressing you out is really thinking about this thing that's giving you a problem.
Stress.
It's not really the problem itself. And that's true for most things in life, right? It's just you end up overcomplicating it, overthinking it, and then making it worse in your head. But in reality, it's something that's manageable and you can deal with. So yeah, usually focusing on other things, focusing on, exercising, doing things like cooking, reading a book, meditating, doing other activities that are away from the thing that's stressing you out is usually going to be the best bang for your buck.
Yeah, absolutely. That is absolutely correct. One thing that I wanna mention that you kind of mentioned this already, that sometimes you're just thinking about the problem and just overthinking about it, and that's what's stressing you. Sometimes that stress is not really the problem, but it's just the fact that you think that you are stressed. So sometimes I feel like it is a mindset, and you're going into that right track. So
exactly, you need to be in the headspace of like, this is a problem I can solve because I've dealt with shit in the past and I've solved that, as opposed to, oh man, everything's falling apart, I can't deal with this right now. And then that just kind of compounds and snowballs into something that gets worse, which can get into another topic that we talked about before with like mental health, right? So, be good about dealing with your stress, as to not let it kind of become a bigger problem later on in life. Because a lot of people can start, getting things like PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, simply because they're just stressing out all the times of the day. They're stressing out at work, they're stressing out at school, they're stressing out about the relationships, they're stressing out about their family. When a lot of these things don't really come down to you, it's external factors, it's other people. You don't have control of the situation in so much as just what you do and what your thoughts are. So again, that's another really good way about dealing with stress. Think about the situation in the realm of what you can do and what you can control. And oftentimes what you're going to find is that it's only you and the actions and the thoughts that you have that you can control. You don't have the ability to control other people. And if you did, let me know, because that'd be pretty cool. That'd make my life a lot easier. But at the end of the day, you can't. So deal with the situation as best as you can with the tools you have available that are in your control.
Absolutely, yeah. And I feel like it all comes down to getting to know yourself a little bit better as well. So you know what's better for you, what's best for you overall, in what is going to help you to cope with this stress that you're going through, or sometimes just avoiding the stress overall. It's going to be about learning to know who you are, see what triggers this sort of emotions, and see what works best for you as well. For example, for me, has worked these tactics that I mentioned a little bit earlier, but for you, it can be something else, something different. Maybe like playing video games. And then I feel like video games stress you the fuck out even more. But
it depends on the video game you play, for sure.
Right, there you go. So it can be maybe playing video games. It can be writing. It can be any sort of other activities, or maybe like going for a hike or a walk. So it will depend on the person. It will depend
on anything related to art, music.
Oh, there you go, music. I'm not an artist, so can go that route. But yeah, absolutely. I think stress is one of those things that we see growing in, especially on like kids like us, or like young adults. It grows tremendously because we're going through different phases. We're changing. We're pretty much moving on from that teenage stage where you were carefree, or you just in the wild west, to the adulthood. We're going to the fucking world to be part of society and contribute back to society. And it's a lot of load if you feel like everything feels like a competition and you just stress the fuck out because you're not doing or moving that same pace as your peers. And I feel like that's something that stresses us the most, is this transition that we're going through. So learn how to cope with them, learn how to live with them, and what works best for you. That would be my advice for myself to like cope with this. Yeah. And as we transition into adults and members of society, it's some way that we have, some burden that we have to carry on, and better if we learn how to deal with it at these early stages rather than wait until like we old as fuck and we just be like,
you're gonna be one of those old people that are always mad and just complaining and just cursing everybody out. Right?
Yeah.
And yeah, like dealing with stress is a skill. That's something that people don't really like to, don't really say, is that it's a skill. Because in order for you to understand what it is that relieves you from stress, you have to try a bunch of different things.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not usually going to be the same for everybody. There's some universal things that are true for most people, but it's not always the same. There's always something else that's different about you and the way you deal with stress than it is for somebody else. And that's why things like journaling, like I mentioned there, art and music is an expression, right? A way to you kind of get that out of your system. Exercising, that kind of, it puts you out of the state of mind of being trapped in your head with whatever it is that's stressing you out. And maybe you can get like an outside perspective, right? Like a bird's eye view from like the top down, seeing the whole situation for what it is, and then seeing what's the best way to go about approaching it, as opposed to just being like right in the middle of it and everything is chaos all around you and you can't really see anything because everything's blocked. So just put yourself out of that perspective. That way you can see what you're dealing with, as opposed to just being right there in the center.
Absolutely. Yeah, I feel like the best way to avoid this stress is know what the problem is. Like, what's the source, right? That's what you're referring to. And it is quite true that once you learn or know or are aware about what the problem is and what is causing you this stress, sometimes you feel a little bit more less worried. Or maybe like something what I like to do is just write it on my whiteboard, like something like this, like things that I have to do or things that it's kind of stressing me out with a close deadline or just project that is just sitting there in the back of my computer and I have not touched them. And in a way, I feel like I'm stressing because I'm not making progress on them. So yeah, it is true that learning what the problem is, just outlining it and how you can tackle the problem is more important than just stressing about it, because it really shows that type of quality of person that you are, man or woman. It doesn't matter the type of person that you are when you go ahead and try to solve this problem rather than just complain all day that you're stressed because you got to do a lot. You know what I mean?
Yeah, everybody has a lot to do.
Like,
It's up to you to
that's
figure
true.
out how do you manage that.
Yeah,
And the better
absolutely.
you are at solving that problem, the better you are at just doing whatever else you have to do in your life, right? And that will start transferring over into the things you do in your day to day, your work, your school, or whatever else you do, sports, activities, things like that. You just become a better problem solver, and that's a skill. That's a very valuable skill.
It's a very valuable skill. Absolutely. All right. So I think that covers that topic for the day, unless you have something else to add.
No, that's it. That's it.
Perfect.
Just don't kill yourself with the stress.
Yeah.
Easy come, easy go.
There's this meme that I come across like long time ago that says the best advice I can give you for stress is don't be stressed. Because it's
It
a
doesn't
mindset.
really help. It's a mindset, but it
It's
doesn't
just a
really help because
mindset.
it's like,
Yeah.
this is gonna stress you out more. And you're like, why the fuck am I so stressed then?
It is. So just it's just a mindset. It all comes down to your mind. It all comes down to the way that you control to your mind on your mind. Cool. Let's move on to the final section. I think we have some interesting topics to talk about today regarding
Sure.
well, let's talk about the listing of GameStop and BlackBerry from certain brokerage.
Right. So I don't think they got necessarily completely delisted, but they were definitely restricted for a little bit, right?
Right.
So just in general, when it comes to being delisted, that's essentially being taken off the big exchanges like the NASDAQ and the New York Stock Exchange. It doesn't necessarily mean you can't trade these companies anymore. They usually go to other exchanges, usually OTC, over the counter is the exchange. And this is usually where we're going to find penny stocks or stocks that kind of just died. And they're still around and you can still buy and sell them, but they're usually super cheap and you can only buy them in mass quantities. So you have to buy at least like $100 worth of these shares, if not more. And you're usually going to have to pay a commission up front. Again, that's not necessarily always the case that there are penny stocks that you have to buy $100 worth of shares, but that's usually the case. So that's usually what ends up happening when you get delisted off the major exchanges. But as it pertains to GameStop and AMC, that's a little different. You care to explain a little bit, or you want me to keep going?
Absolutely. I can explain a little bit on this one from my understanding. So what happened yesterday is that there there's such a hierarchy in the financial aspect as well, like anywhere, right? There are the big sharks and the big boys who pretty much control the decisions of a lot of what happens in the market. So now what they did is that they couldn't get they couldn't keep losing money because that's what was happening with GameStop reaching to uptown levels of almost to $400. They were losing a lot of money because they were shorting the stock. Now, so what they did is that they pretty much convinced the brokerage to stop trading, to suspend AMC and GameStop for 30 days. All right. And now there was that huge controversy regarding this with Robinhood, because their whole model, their whole mission is to democratize finance for all, you know. So why were they selling out to these big corporations if they, if they started as a company to be able to let people trade, to let people be, kind of not be part of the system, this systematic thing, the systematic bullshit that there is.
Right, like you have to be a part of the club in order to make money, right?
Exactly.
It was decentralized. You do your trading on your phone from your home, wherever you are. You don't have to be somebody that has to go to school and get a master's degree in business and then join the big tech or the big financial industries in the banking and in the finance sectors in order to start making money in the stock market.
Exactly. Actually, this brought a really unpopular unlikelist of the duos. So, Republican Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez, she declared that the broker's decisions was unacceptable. And guess who retweeted? Take a guess.
It was Ted Cruz, right? Republican? Oh, no, Elon Musk.
It was Elon Musk, yes. Elon Musk said absolutely. So they both agreed that what Robinhood did with the decisions, not just Robinhood, there were plenty of other brokerages like Webull that decided to.
Thinkorswim. It was all of them.
It was all of them, absolutely, yeah. But once again, so the whole statement about Robinhood, it was to democratize trading, and actually they released the suspension, and you are able to trade GameStop and AMD today on the Robinhood app. I'm not sure about
limited though. I don't know exactly what the limitations they put on it, but apparently they limited the trading.
Oh, they limited?
Maybe you have to put like limit orders in order to get in and get out. But
maybe. Yeah. I'm still able to buy like up to 100 shares. But yeah, so that was the big controversy behind yesterday. So how
there was also another thing. Like Robinhood was actually selling people shares in that period of time where you couldn't buy, you could only sell. They were like purposely, like literally intentionally going into people's accounts and selling these positions for them. Oh, wow. They didn't put in any sell orders or anything. They just, hey, due to the crazy level of volatility, we think it's in your best interest that we sell these shares for you so you don't lose money.
Well, yeah, no, it's quite interesting. But then there's always the other side of the story, because now like the big corporations that were kind of getting in on the lead on controlling the situation. Now Robinhood, it was kind of looking out for the people as well. So that's their official statement. Because if the big corporations were starting to short this stock once again, the stock is going to go down, and they were looking for the people's interest, for the customers' interest in making sure that they don't lose any of their capital, I would say. But yeah, so there was a huge controversy behind this, but they were not completely delisted. That's why I was a little bit confused yesterday when you mentioned delisted, because I saw in the news that they got a 30-day suspension. That was it.
Well, in any case, when I was trying to buy them on Webull, it was saying that they couldn't be purchased on the regular exchanges. It was now off-the-counter pink slip company, which usually you only see that with companies that have been delisted and are traded on the OTC markets. So that's what ended up happening from my end. But yeah, man, that was pretty crazy.
I don't know. It's a fucking glitch that they found in that system of like the stock trading. And now, who would have thought?
I don't even think it was a glitch. It's just they finally found that they were exploiting something that shouldn't have been there to begin with. Because prior to everybody figuring this out, these big corporations that were shorting it, they've shorted GameStop by over 150% of its value, which, you know, you can only have 100% of something. So how the hell did they short it another 50% from there?
Right.
So yeah, people just found that they were exploiting the system, and then they pushed back. And now these billionaires are losing billions because they've been cheating the system for a long time. And, you know, they started crying about it, and that sucks to be them. But
Yeah,
this is what happens when you start
yeah,
exploiting.
I saw so many memes about this on Twitter. There was one that says, oh, there's people crying. There's people out there losing millions and crying about it in one of their 5 boats. Get it? Because like the people who's losing money, it's the millionaires, the rich people, and the people that are getting some money out of it. Like they're actually people who made almost $1 million, and there's some people that actually.
There's a guy that made $1 billion on GameStop.
Holy shit! Yeah, no, there's a lot of people who's kind of like getting rich out of this, and some of these people are like donating their profits to like local causes, and doing something with the money, something like meaningful. I feel like if you come from middle class with poor backgrounds and you get that amount of money like just like that, you actually want to do some good out of there because you know what it feels like, you know, to be on the other side. Whereas if you grew up in a rich family and you're just always being rich, you don't know about that. You know, you care less about like what other people are doing. So you just have like that little facade. So I think it's a good thing. It's kind of like the modern type of Robin Hood inside of Robin Hood app. Oh, mind blown. Anyways, it's too early for this. In other news, what I have for you is some of the COVID-19 updates. So South Carolina reported the first known U.S. case of B1351, which is that coronavirus variant initially discovered in South Africa. So there seems to be another variations of the coronavirus.
Bro,
So,
this is like that game, Plague Inc. You ever played it?
no.
So essentially, it's literally you create this virus, and it could be whatever. It could be a bacteria, a virus, a fungal infection, or whatever. You start it in a very specific place on the planet, China, and then it just spreads out throughout the world, and it starts mutating at different places.
Oh shit!
It's really fun, but clearly that's exactly what's happening right now with COVID-19.
You're like, it's clearly fun, but it's not fun if we live it on it.
Yeah, I didn't think it was going to come to life like this.
Yeah. So, and we have now, we have some new preliminary data from Novavax vaccines, which was almost 90% effective in the UK trial, but only 49% effective against the variant. So it seems like the vaccines are not being effective against the new variant, which is kind of scary. You know, the U.S. indexes bounced back nicely from their worst state in 3 months on Wednesday. That was a huge crash that we saw on Monday, and it's bouncing back, which is really nice to see on my portfolio as well. Okay. Anyways, yesterday, we'll talk about the Robinhood platform and all the activity that it happened yesterday, and you were correct. Robinhood did say that it will allow limited buying of these stocks today. Beyond that, we're not predicting anything. So we will see if the other brokerage accounts will allow to do some of this as well.
This is going to be the beginning of something big, simply because now people are going to start seeing the fact that, you know, a lot of these brokerages, these online brokerages, or these apps on your phones, they have ties to these bigger corporations, and they will bend the knee to these people if they so decide to. If these big corporations decide like, hey, we're not going to use your platform anymore, which means that platform starts losing millions, if not billions of dollars as well.
Definitely.
Well, they're going to have to make a decision.
Yes, and another thing too is that so the overall market, they have to find a way to, they would try to find a way to stop this sort of I wouldn't call it catalyst. I would say more like trading patterns that we see. Because if a bunch of people,
short squeezing.
Yeah, if a lot of people joins together, like they can actually have a lot of control of the markets and the price of one specific company, or like many different companies as well. So it's a dangerous game, and makes the market a little bit extra volatile and unpredictable still. But you know,
Well, that's the
again,
game, bro.
it's the game. We something's gotta
come
play
in,
with the rules. My
you
opinion.
come in, and this you never know what you're gonna get. That's the bipolar market. But
Very good. Over the past, now moving forward to the big tech, over the past few days, Facebook and Apple have been brawling over privacy and competition. So it seems like last June, Apple announced a tweak on the iOS that will bar apps from collecting ad targeting info. So unless users gave them the go ahead. So the change could prevent major headaches for the ad-based apps like Apple. It's a really good. I feel like that's the right step towards privacy, because as consumer, as as populations, we don't realize that these apps like Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, they're not truly free. You're getting monetized with your information and the like the things that you like and dislike. So trust me, nothing in this world is free, and nothing that sparks is rainbows. Wait, no. Nothing. Wait, not everything that sparks is gold. So
right.
so you gotta. I think we have been pushing this concern like for so long regarding privacy and regarding or privacy or data, and even with the government, we are aware that Big Brother have been watching us, and we still haven't done anything. And actually, this actually takes me back to a report that I was reading from Donald Trump's last day on office, right? He pardoned about like 35 people. And on the list, there was not Edward Snowden, nor the WikiLeaks founder, which they pretty much, got the information out there for the people, and they deserve to be pardoned and come back to their country. But
they'll be killed here at the moment they step foot.
exactly. So it's kind of those problems that everybody knows about, but they don't say anything. And I think Apple is taking the right step towards privacy, and that's why I kind of appreciate Apple a lot and use their products, because they do put privacy first aside of government's interest or other companies' interest, in my opinion. Because there was
Hopefully it's true, because we never know.
True. No, but there was a case back a couple years ago. It was like this case. The FBI was involved, and they found like the criminal's iPhone, and they couldn't unlock it, and they asked Apple to unlock it or create like a master key for them to unlock any iPhone. And Apple took them to the courts and told them like, hey, we cannot do that. Our biggest concern is privacy. So then ask the question, which one is right, And I believe Apple was right at that point, because regardless that for one person, okay, yes, this person was a criminal. You create such a powerful tool that can access to your iPhone anytime, any day by the FBI or the government or even Apple themselves, put you in a really bad position to just leak your data out there, which is not good. Not good. So I'm very, very, very pro privacy person, because I care about my privacy. But that's something that we can maybe talk about later on. All right. In other news, we have GM said that it will stop selling gas and diesel powered vehicles by 2035, an ambitious move that plots an emission-free future. In my opinion, GM has a lot to grow. It's just doing too many things. I feel like it's too diverse for a company. Like it's doing a little of everything.
It's going everywhere, baby.
And it's not good. Remember, we talk about like diversifying like too much and being diverse at certain limits. If you diversify too much, your company or your portfolio is going to grow. It's going to have a steady but a really, really slow growth. Whereas if you have a decent diverse and a strong focus on those diversities, it can grow exponentially. So I feel like GM, has something to work about that. Toyota regained its title as the top-selling automaker, surpassing Volkswagen in vehicle sales last year. Wow. Americas and Southwest Airlines posted record annual losses for 2020. Qualtrics, the SAP-owned seller of survey software, showed you can do well on the stock market without the Reddit bump. Shares gains nearly 40% in its first day of trading. So that's it from my end. What are you looking at?
Right now, I don't know if you've been paying attention, but Bitcoin's been bouncing back nicely. We're back at that 37 range, which is great. That means that play on Mara, which is the Bitcoin mining company, also really nice return so far. Yeah, man. Right now, like, I'm just really keeping an eye on what's going on with AMC and GameStop, just because like it's really interesting. If there's any intraday opportunities, I usually take them. I think I'm going long with a couple positions, like no more than 50 shares on AMC, just because it's a movement now, and you know, it's time to see if we can transfer wealth from the rich to the middle and lower classes, because you know this whole time we've been getting exploited, and these corporations, these bigger corporations have been pushing down on smaller companies like GameStop and AMC when there was no necessity to. It's just forcing them to go down simply because they're trying to exploit and make more money than they already had. So, you know, you just gotta keep an eye out and see what ends up moving. But besides that, everything is pretty stable right now. Kind of bounced back nicely. There's a lot of good buying opportunities on Wednesday when everything dropped. So hopefully people took advantage of that. In terms of EVs, we got Tesla that dropped down pretty significantly. It's trying to find its recovery, but you know, it hit 900 and then it dropped like almost instantly. And that's happened a couple times where Tesla hits these new levels and then immediately drops. Needs to find some sort of rebound area, and then well, it hits higher highs. So I think at this point the goal is to reach 1,000 probably by next earning report, probably.
Yeah, most likely. Well, the earnings report for Tesla just came on Wednesday.
Yeah, that's what dropped the stock.
Yeah.
But that usually never stops it, so I don't really matters that much.
Absolutely.
All right, and I think that's about it.
All right, then we'll see you next week, and enjoy the weekend. Peace out.
Peace.
What the is we doing?